Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:07 now on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in. This just in 30 minutes, we're going to be joined by Dr. Oz of the Trump administration. He was part of that announcement yesterday with some concerns over acetaminophen and potential developments of neurological disorders like autism, ADHD. So we'll get into that coming up in 30 minutes. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka in for Julie Gunlock today. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning.
And Joe Concha, of course, is not a doctor in any way whatsoever. Other than a doctor of dementia, my friends, because he is a party animal. He and I were just on a cruise together, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. He, of course, is also a Fox News contributor, and his book is The Greatest Comeback Ever Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign. Good morning, Joseph. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How's it going?
Well, I'm confused, and that's why you're here. You need to sort this out. For me, you're much wiser than I. You went to University of Maryland after all. Fear the Turtle. Boy, did they look good this weekend, by the way.
Oh, Wisconsin, please.
Beautiful game. Governor Walker is screaming now at his radio as he hears that. Joe, I was told that Trump, the dictator in the White House, and his little Goebbels man, Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, that they ordered ABC to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. Yesterday, we've learned that ABC has decided to reinstate the Jimmy Kimmel Live show tonight. So how is that possible? I thought that this was censorship, and I thought that it was Trump and Brendan Carr that made the decision.
It's very, very confusing, yes. I guess Trump is an authoritarian until he had nothing to do with it. I mean, Larry, Patrice, I mean, it's just so simple. The affiliate 62 came forward and said, we do not want to air this toxic crap anymore. So ABC, what are they to do when 62 stations don't want to carry your show? So they said, all right, maybe we just have to end this thing altogether, or at least talk to Jimmy Kimmel and see if he could, change his ways, which he will not, by the way, because he's an unhinged, I think almost a sick individual who's just going to continue with his, ultra MAGA stuff as far as being completely and totally TDS. And I'll share one stat with you. The New York Post reported this yesterday, and it really is remarkable. Through the first 8 months of this year, Kimmel has told 1,128 jokes about Donald Trump or conservatives, if you want to call them jokes. It's more like just hateful statements. How many has he told about Democrats and Joe Biden? 26. So 1,128 to 26. Wow. But here's the better stat, guys. He has had one conservative on in 3 years, and that was Mike Lindell, and they only did it to mock him because he was unvaccinated. Otherwise, it's just like Colbert, where every night is the DNC. It's simply not funny. Gutfeld on Fox doubles his ratings, despite Gutfeld having, 1/100th the resources that Kimmel does as far as production budget, writers, resources, so on. So I guess if Disney wants to continue to lose tens of millions of dollars, put this clown back on. The left will call him a martyr. You got to see Variety this morning that calls him the most important comedian of the Trump era. Oh, we have important comedians now. I just thought they were supposed to make us laugh. That's where we're at this point, Patrice.
Well, Joe, I mean, that Variety is just a joke anyway. But I mean, I think a bigger joke is, the fact that people like CNN commentator Ashley Hinson, Allison doesn't think that Kimmel's audience skews to the left. She thinks that they're just all, regular Americans from across the board. I mean, how detached from reality are some of these commentators who think that Kimmel represents all of America?
Oh, I saw that, Patrice, and this is why CNN has more employees than viewers at this point. I mean, that's why no one is watching this network. And literally, they can't get 400,000 people to watch them in prime time, despite the fact they're in nearly 100 million homes. I mean, so yeah, when you make statements like that, look, Kimmel literally went to another network, CBS News, a couple of years ago, and declared that he hoped that not one Trump supporter ever watched his show again because they're all horrible people, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're running Disney, would you be like, wait a minute, did he just tell half the country to not watch the product again? Because that might not be good for ratings. But they kept him on the air anyway. CNN overall, I mean, here you have Brian Stelter's on every day, turning Jimmy Kimmel into like the Rosa Parks of, late night. And all I know is that Stelter a couple of years ago, along with his JV sidekick, Oliver Darcy, they were calling cable operators and asking how could they possibly continue to air Fox News because of the misinformation and hate speech that that they said we were spreading. And thankfully, the cable operators like, yeah, they're the number one network in the country, and you're insane. Thankfully, they didn't listen to him. But yeah, this is a guy who believes in total censorship. Now he's talking about how Kimmel's being silenced when, again, not the case.
Joe, Concha, you mentioned these syndication groups, the owners of the local broadcast stations, which, by the way, if anything, this whole story has been a real good education for most of the American public who don't understand the difference between the network and the local stations.
Affiliates, yeah.
Have we heard from Nexstar yet, the other big syndicator that pulled Kimmel, or is it only Sinclair who has said that they're not going to run him tonight?
We're only hearing from Sinclair, but from what I'm being told within Nexstar is that they are discussing it. They want to see, they're doing a wait-and-see approach is what I'm told. In other words, they want to see how Kimmel acts this week. And if he goes down this road again, then it's going to be a big problem.
So my understanding is Sinclair doesn't own as many as Nexstar, but they own in the large markets, including right here in D.C., by the way. If anyone is listening to this show and they hoping to see Jimmy Kimmel tonight, I doubt there are many of you, you won't, because here in Washington, D.C., ABC7 WJLA is Sinclair-owned, and they will not have the show on. And that represents about 38% of the audience, or the potential audience. If you've lost 38% of your potential audience, your national advertisers are not going to get the coverage that you would hope with your buy. So that dries up the revenue. How is this sustainable for Disney in the long run?
The answer is, Larry, it's not, right? I mean, it just is not. And I think Disney, they got scared when all these producers and actors said that they were going to boycott ever working for Disney and ABC ever again unless they put Kimmel back on. So I think Nexstar in the end is going to be the final curtain. If they decide that Kimmel is too toxic, and he is, or that it's not financially viable to keep him on when you just put on Celebrity Family Feud reruns at 1/100th the cost and get the same number as far as ratings, I think if Nexstar pulls, then Kimmel's gone, and no one can say that it was anybody else's fault except for Jimmy Kimmel, who right now liberals are more upset about him losing his show for a couple days than Charlie Kirk losing his life. That I do know.
Joe, really quickly here, the other big joke I think of last night was Kamala Harris's first interview since her election loss, and she's talking to a prominent gay woman about why a prominent gay man could not be president. What was your takeaway from her interview last night on Rachel Maddow?
Oh, Maddow, who works 1 day a week and now is on a 6-day weekend. Maddow should have pushed back there, but she's such a sycophant that she didn't really do it. Kamala, this is going to be the worst book tour. Like, it'll be like the Ishtar of book tours. Like, it's not going to go well. She's making enemies within her own party. If she thinks she's going to run again and get the nomination where she actually has to earn votes, sadly mistaken.
Ishtar. You're doing an Ishtar reference.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman, right?
Yeah, but wasn't that like 92 or something? I mean,
I should have gone with Jiggly, right? Jiggly would have been a little more modern.
Jiggly might have been a good one. Maybe even the Kevin Costner Robin Hood might have been. Yeah, Ishtar was 87. Thank you, Grok, on that one. All right, you know what, Joe? We're gonna let it slide this time because we like it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Concha.
Thanks, Joe.
Listen to his radio show up there in New York. It's 8:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Brought to you by the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. We guide you home. NATCA.org.
Dr. Mehmet Oz is the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and he was standing alongside President Trump and Secretary Kennedy and Director McCary yesterday as the announcement was made that there could be some association with heavy use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and multiple neurological neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism or ADHD, to shed a little more light on this statement and hopefully to push through some of the misinformation that's been put out there on both sides of this issue. Is Dr. Oz joining us now? Dr. Oz, thanks for joining us.
It's a great pleasure to be with you. You could hear from the president's presentation how passionate he has been about this.
Yes.
And I'll just share from behind the scenes. He has been calling and talking about this for months. He upset mostly that he thinks we have had clues for a while in this country and have not acted on them. He's a very empathetic person about some of these issues, especially autistic children. He knows how hard it is for families because he's had personal experience with people who have been employees of his whose children have become autistic. So he did not want to tolerate any additional time between when we had a clue and when we told the American people. So he charged me, Marty, and Jay, the heads of NIH, FDA, and obviously I'm at Medicare, Medicaid, and asked the secretary, who's a great warrior on this issue, to go out there and just get us some answers. And whatever they're out there, he wanted to share immediately, and you saw the first evidence of that yesterday.
Dr. Oz, I appreciate that. And thank you. And by the way, just for your information, you're speaking to a man whose son is on the autism spectrum as well. He's 18 years old. And so I feel passionately about this as well. Let me ask you to at least blow through some of the way the media is reporting this. Here's the AP headline. Trump uses platform of presidency to promote unproven ties between Tylenol, vaccines, and autism without any evidence. Now, that doesn't seem exactly accurate, considering I know that you and your team utilized a Harvard study of 47 different studies that was just published last month. So what did the AP get wrong there in their characterization, Doc?
A lot. Every word in that sentence, pretty much. But what's surprising is we reviewed this both at the press conference, and we had a fact sheet, and we wrote an op-ed, and we did media yesterday around it. And we could not have done more to highlight what I'm about to tell everybody. They don't want to hear the truth. And that's a separate pathology that we have to get into. Again, what is the political benefit of a president taking on all these different sectors, taking a risk about in a condition as significant as autism? And Larry, you know this, as you pointed out. So there are many, many listeners right now who have an autistic child in their life, and we love them dearly, and they're fantastic in their own way, but it is definitely a life-changing event. So when the president says he wants to go at this hard and be serious about it, and then he takes personal risk to be out in front of this. He didn't have to be at the press conference. He could have had Secretary Kennedy or just one of the three agency heads do this, but he wanted to be involved because he wanted to make sure people heard the message. So here's a story on acetaminophen. That's the raw material in Tylenol. It's a medication that is the only really approved product for pregnant women. That's why this is an issue, because all pregnant women were then encouraged to take acetaminophen if they had fever or pain. The question is, are we taking it judiciously? Are we being thoughtful and careful about taking it? And it turns out, based on the Harvard study, which is based on 40-plus additional studies, large ones, small ones, some said they didn't matter, most said it did matter, summarized them. Again, the Harvard School of Public Health, the dean of the school wrote us a separate note saying this is what I think is the interpretation of this work. And then he has the actual manuscript itself, both of which echo what the president said and was revealed by the physicians. Because I'm a professor emeritus at Columbia, Marty at Hopkins, Jay at Stanford. We are tenured faculty at major academic institutions. We know how to read the literature. And if this was not true, we wouldn't talk about it. There is definitely a signal there. We have more to do, but it's going to take years and years to know for sure. So what do? Do you tell the families or not? The question here is, do you take it at all? Yes. High fevers, your doctor tells you, I'm worried, take it, no question. But don't just pop pills because you wake up in the morning with little aches and pains. Or if you have a low-grade fever, that actually accelerates recovery from an illness because the fever kills the virus but doesn't kill your own cells. So
you're
if
saying,
you use it wisely, it's good.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. That's a really important bottom line, using it wisely, not necessarily saying pregnant women shouldn't use it. I mean, just to take it a step further, women are going to listen to their doctors. Even though you and your colleagues are very accomplished, they're going to listen to their pediatricians or their OBGYNs. What is the outreach going to be to these medical professionals who are dealing day to day with patients to communicate this change and this information? Because that source, that buy-in from the medical community is going to be really critical here.
Very, very important point. Thank you for raising it. We are clinical doctors. I take care of patients. As well did. We are involved in the practice of medicine, so we understand how difficult it is. So there's a letter going out to all doctors, educating them about what we revealed today. Again, we did some of the background homework for them. We're hoping it's helpful. We're also talking to patients because much of this is done by patients without a consultation with their doctor. Women will take Tylenol without consulting a doctor. It's over the counter. They think it's very safe. If used correctly, it probably is safe. But in pregnancy, it turns out there's a significant concern. They should know about it. What is the argument against learning more about this? By the way, this wasn't just about acetaminophen or Tylenol. We also revealed very important information about a potential cause of autism that can be treated with a prescription medication called leucovorin. Many kids with autism, we believe, have a Larry, you should think about this. To have a difficulty get absorbing methylfolate. Folate comes from foliage, leafy greens. So that important vitamin B9 doesn't get absorbed into the brain. And so there's a prescription medication that's actually used to help people taking chemo, but it turns out to be potentially effective for autistic children. So we're asking patients to talk to their doctors about this. And the label of the medication is being changed by Marty, which allows Medicaid to then give it to patients. I at CMS will reimburse states for the medication. So for the more than half the kids in America who are on Medicaid or CHIP, they can get this medication with no cost. And the private insurance companies, we believe, will follow up as well. And the medication is not that expensive anyway. It's 30 cents a pill. So we think we've got a great idea.
Thank you for that, Dr. Oz. And EJ's mother and I are going to be discussing that later today. In fact, we saw that part of the news as well. Real quickly, if you could share with us, did Johnson & Johnson get a heads up from the administration, from anyone in the Department of Health and Human Services before yesterday's announcement? And has there been pushback from Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer of Tylenol?
I know there were some discussions. I do not know to what detail they went. That's actually the purview of the Food and Drug Administration. So Marty McCary would have had those conversations if any were had. And I don't know if there was any pushback from them. But they're a company, a respected company. They've got to respond. They've got to do their own homework, and that's part of what the president is demanding.
Yeah. And finally, Dr. Oz, in your wheelhouse as administrator for Medicare and Medicaid services, I saw that the CBO revised their numbers with regard to people who might lose Medicaid services as a result of the big, beautiful bill. And they said that the vast majority of them are people in the country illegally and therefore ineligible for services, or people who are getting duplicate services from other types of healthcare options or health insurance options. And also it's from people who could be getting health coverage outside of Medicaid. In other words, all of the scare tactics about cutting Medicaid for people was completely bogus and built on a tower of lies. Have you seen any reporting about that, Dr. Oz?
They don't report it. What you're saying right now is accurate, but they're not reporting it publicly. And yesterday at the news conference, one of the reporters said, well, how can you say you're going to make this medication available to kids when you're cutting those services? I said, you understand, there's no cutting. We put $200 billion more dollars into the Medicaid program and an extra $50 billion into rural health transformation. So it's $250 billion more dollars going into the program, and we are passionate about vulnerable populations. Children, especially on the autism spectrum, are vulnerable. They will be supported. They will be funded. However, we're not going to pay for illegal immigrants, people who are grifting the system by enrolling in multiple programs at once, and we're definitely not going to pay for able-bodied individuals who don't want to participate in changing their life and engaging their community. But we're passionate about making that happen. I think the president has said this over, and I echo it. We want America working again. We got twice as many jobs as people available. Get people off Medicaid into the workforce. They'll be happier, too. They were put on this planet to participate in life. Let them live their full dream.
Well said, Dr. Oz. Don't be a stranger. We love these conversations. You and Dr. McCary are always welcome here, as these issues matter greatly to our listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Oz.
Well, God bless you both. Take care.
By the way, Dr. Oz, great head of hair. That guy's got
He has a beautiful head of hair, yes.
Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Super busy this morning here, and we appreciate Dr. Oz for joining us at the last minute there from the administration to talk about this acetaminophen story and concerns over that. We wish we had more time, but we've already gone a bit over time there. We want to catch up on some other stories going on as well. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice. Kamala Harris. I know how much you love Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is doing a book tour. The book is out today officially. And yesterday she appeared on Rachel Maddow's show. First, she sort of dropped this remarkable statement about the 2024 presidential election, that Well, it doesn't seem quite accurate. This is cut 31, Professor. Cut 31. Let's go.
We had a president of the United States running for re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century.
That's just inaccurate by a long shot. It was not the closest presidential election in the 21st century. Just
it was close by no means.
But they refused to acknowledge that she was a terrible candidate. And, well, it's just 107 days, and she did a great job. Okay, fine. Nominate her again then. God bless it. Love it. Kamala Harris then, in the book, we've discussed this last week, that she specifically said that she wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg, but because he's gay, she didn't pick him. Now, she claims it's because she thinks the voters just weren't ready for that sort of thing. But it doesn't matter the rationale. The bottom line is, if Pete Buttigieg were not gay, she would have picked him. Although, of course, let's just be real. If Pete Buttigieg weren't gay, no one would know who he is because he was just a mayor of South Bend, Indiana. And the only reason he was elevated to the national stage is because he was gay.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a double-edged sword there, Democrats. That said, Rachel Maddow is also gay. And so as she was questioning Kamala Harris, obviously she was a little pointed in saying, explain to me why you didn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay. Take a listen.
I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but we had such a short period of time.
So
Come on now. Are we supposed? She just contradicted herself. Are we really supposed to believe that it wasn't prejudice on her part? If she's really an ally, stand and make the largest statement you can in support of a gay person by putting him on the ticket, especially if you think he's going to deliver key constituents that you cannot deliver. And by the way, you are not David versus Goliath. You are the incumbent. You were literally handed you didn't have to get the nomination through a contest. You were given the nomination. You were given $1 billion. You were given every advantage. You were given the full media, and you still blew it. So stop passing the buck and own up.
The bottom line here is she said, I wasn't prejudiced against Pete because he was gay. The American people are bigoted, and I couldn't take that risk. That's leadership. That's courage under fire. That's making a statement. It's 8:42. More on this interview with Maddow yesterday, Kamala Harris, specifically about Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, the communist in New York. Here, take a listen. It's 35A. Take a listen.
As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee, and he should be supported. Do
you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world. world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah. Okay, that was quite a pivot. Sure, I support him, and yeah, he's the nominee. I mean, but he's not the only star we've got. By the way, if you'd like
endorsement,
yeah, you want an insight into who Kamala Harris just endorsed for mayor of New York, and basically said he's one of our stars. Cut 36A. Here's Mamdani yesterday on MSNBC, same network.
A cornerstone of our campaign is a commitment to increase funding for those very legal defense services by more than $100 million so that we can ensure we're taking every step we can to keep New Yorkers safe, to keep New Yorkers together, and to
they're
show
not
the
New
world that
Yorkers,
they are
they're illegal
welcome.
immigrants. He's going to take $100 million of New Yorkers' tax dollars and use it for a legal defense in a losing cause, by the way, for illegal immigrants facing deportation.
Stay here. My goodness.
That's right. And Kamala, well, I guess it makes sense that Kamala Harris would endorse him because they're here because of her. She was our border czar. It's 8:52. Thank you, Patrice, for a Tuesday appearance.
All right, I'll see you on Friday.
Excellent. Coming up next. Wait, you'll see me on Friday?
Friday. What am I saying? I've been withholding that all day.
Coming up next, it's Chris Plank. Christopher, good morning, sir.
Why, good morning to you. You enjoy the big football game last night?
Wait, it was a late night, but yes, a very enjoyable one for us Lions fans.
Yeah, it was an amazing game. Watched it from home on the Jumbotron. Great stuff. But listen, a lot to talk about, as you're doubtless aware. We got Kamala. Kamala went and did her interview with her best pal, her buddy, and it was a lot of fun. And Jimmy Kimmel coming back on the TV in some places. Trump at the UN. That happens while we're on the air. And autism. How about this among Amish people? This is, we should be having this discussion.